disqualified from a golf competition. That's the bad news. We'll come back to that later, but first I've got some good news, which is that it's finally time to do the draw for the 10,000 subscriber giveaway that I did a couple of weeks ago. Sorry for the delay in doing the draw, and sorry if you've left a comment that I haven't replied to yet. I've been so busy that I've just fallen behind on everything, but I am reading all the comments and I'll be catching up as soon as I can. There were over 1,000 comments on that video, which is absolutely amazing. To enter, I said you had to tell me which one person in the world you would most like to have a round of golf with. Some of the most popular choices were people like Tiger Woods and Seve Ballesteros, which you can't really argue with. I mean, that would be amazing to play with somebody like that. Other popular choices were Mark Crossfield and Donald Trump, which is interesting. I mean, one of them is an egomaniac dictator who thinks that everything he says is right and everybody else should just bow down and listen to him. And the other one's Donald Trump. I'm joking, I'm just joking. I very much like Mark Crossfield, it was only a joke. Donald Trump, on the other hand.
But Mr. Trump, you're not a nice person.
And an alarming number of people, given the choice of anybody in the whole world to play around a golf with, said me.
Point is, people make bad choices.
Now, I can see what you're trying to do there.
Are you brown-nosing?
Yes, I am.
But I use a random comment picker, so that kind of flattery is just completely wasted, I'm afraid. So let's see who won, shall we? Here we go. Lucas Anderson. I'm guessing that's Lucas Anderson. What's he said? Hey mate, love the vids and all the little cuts and randomness makes it that bit different from everyone else out there. Keep it up. I think I want to play with Tiger Woods due to his experience and status. So there you go, Lucas Anderson, you have won all those fantastic prizes, so drop me a message and I will get them all sent out to you. I've just realised that I said this was the good news bit, but actually it's bad news for everybody apart from Lucas because you've just found out that you haven't won.
I like it.
Anyway, now let's talk about golf rules.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
So the reason I got disqualified from a competition last week is that I breached Rule 33.1, subsection 6. Yes, that old classic. So before I tell you exactly what that rule is, just in case you don't know, I'm sure everybody does, I'm going to give you a quick bit of background to what went on. So basically, it's a really busy golf time at the moment with loads of competitions, club matches and knockouts going on. And there's a new competition at my club this year called the Scratch Knockout. Basically, it's a match play knockout event for the 32 lowest handicappers who choose to enter. I think it was created because a lot of the low handicappers felt that they had no chance in the normal knockout where it's full handicap difference. So I played my last 16 match in that this morning and I had to give the guy 16 shots. So I knew that if he played well, it was going to be really hard for me, but I've got no problem with that personally. That's exactly what the handicap system is there for, to make two golfers of any different ability, so a 28 handicapper and a +4, in theory, should be able to have a competitive match. So I lost 2 down today and I shot 76, so if I'd shot 73, I might well have won. So I've only really got myself to blame for the fact that I got knocked out. I can't blame the handicap system. Anyway, the Scratch Knockout is brilliant because it's played off scratch, so even if you're an 8 handicapper playing a scratch golfer, there's no shots given, so it comes down purely to whoever plays best on the day. So like a mate of mine off 8 beat a guy off 1. So in the Scratch Knockout, I got drawn against my mate Colt, who's been on the channel quite a few times before. He's the guy that I did the Lemon Challenge with. He was at the Golf National with me. We did the 72 holes in a day thing last year. And he's the guy whose putter I've stolen for the last 6 or 7 weeks.
Sorry, mate.
Because of other commitments, there was only one day that we could actually both play the match before the deadline. And on that day, there was also a club competition. So we decided that we would play in the competition and do our match at the same time. It was only quite an informal competition where basically you play with whoever you want, at whatever time you want. You just sign in the pro shop, pay your £3 before you go out, you put your score in at the end and that's it. So we thought there'd be no real issue in us playing the match and doing the competition at the same time. Obviously it meant that we had to hold every putt, we couldn't have any gimmies in the match and that kind of thing, but that was hardly a big issue. We both played fairly well. I shot 75 with a double and a triple. It was a Staples comp, so I got 35 points. Colt got 34 points and I won the match, 4-3. Then we got disqualified from the comp because we found out that it's actually against the rules to play a match play competition and another type of competition at the same time. And actually, not only do you get disqualified from the Stableford or stroke play competition, the match result is actually null and void. So you'd have to replay the match. As it was the last day to play it, so we didn't have any opportunity to replay the match, and because I'd won the first time, Colt conceded the replay, which is exactly what I'd have done if he'd beaten me. But I just don't really get why this rule exists. I mean, we didn't gain any advantage over anybody else in the competition by virtue of playing our match at the same time. Like I said, we still had to hold every putt, and if anything, we were at a slight disadvantage because we had two things to think about at once, so the competition and the match. By the way, I should say that I've got absolutely no issue with my club for disqualifying us. They were just implementing the rules. Although, even with that, it kind of makes me think it's a stupid rule because my club could have quite easily not known that we did that. It's only because, you know, we were chatting to people that they actually knew. Colt and I could have played that scratch knockout match anytime we wanted. It's just up to us to put down the result of whoever won. And like I said, that roll-up competition we can play whenever we want. So we could have technically gone out first thing in the morning, played in the competition, then gone back out together and played the match, and that would have been perfectly fine. So I don't really get what difference it makes, the fact that we did them both in one round just because we had other stuff to do. Obviously we could have chosen to not play in that competition, but you know, we both want to get a handicap down, which I always think should be commended, and also we want to support the club by playing in as many competitions and as many knockout events as we possibly can. Like I said, rules are rules, so I've got absolutely no issue with the club for disqualifying us. I just think it's another reason that the rule is kind of a little bit flawed. I mean, it's hardly the end of the world. Neither of us won the comp anyway, and I went through in the knockout, which I would have done if we hadn't broken that rule. But it just seems like another one of those stupid little things that kind of doesn't help golf. It feels like it's kind of catching you out when all you're really trying to do is just get as many competitions and things done as you can. You know, the rules are important, but it just feels like there's a few of them that don't actually add a lot, but in certain instances can detract from the enjoyment of the game. Like there was an incident a few months ago at the club where there'd been a ladies comp, and it was a pairs comp. The two women that won it had made some kind of small mistake on their scorecard. I think it was one of those things where it's like handicaps combined, and then I'm not sure what they'd done, but they'd put either like strokes received where they should have put a handicap, or vice versa, something small like that. Anyway, they had actually got the best score. They were still waiting in the clubhouse to, you know, for the competition to be finalised and all that kind of thing. And then it emerged that they'd made this mistake on their scorecard. So then they got disqualified, which I just think is a bit harsh, really. I mean, these two women, two quite high handicappers, they're not winning things all the time. They might not win another competition for the next 5 years. So their kind of one taste of success has now been taken away from them just because they made a completely honest mistake on their scorecard. And it's not like they, you know, put down a 3 when they actually got a 7 on a hole. It was just like a little tiny error. I just feel like in that instance, it wouldn't be that hard for someone to go over and say, I'm really sorry ladies, but like, you've made this little mistake on your scorecard. Can you just sort that out? And you know, everything's fine. Then we'll get the competition finalised. And congratulations, you know, great round, you've won. And then the two women who had finished second, who now effectively win the competition, I don't think they get that much joy from winning that competition, knowing that actually they should have been second. Anyway, my question for you today is, what golf rule would you most like to change? It could be a rule that you'd like removed, something you'd like changed, or a completely new rule that you think should be added to the rules book. Whatever it is, let me know in the comments thing down below. Now, mine isn't rule 33.1 subsection 6. That is obviously a very small rule which will probably never affect me again in my life, and the vast majority of gophers and golfers will probably go through their whole lives without ever even having an issue with that rule. The rule that I would like to add is to penalise people that don't shout 4. I'm talking mainly about on tour. I'm absolutely sick of seeing players hit balls into the crowd and just not shouting 4. I'm sure they do it because they know that if the ball lands in the crowd, it's less likely to go further offline and deeper into trouble. You see it all the time now. They hit a wild shot offline, it's going towards a crowd of people, and then they don't shout. Sometimes they point as if that's going to help a crowd of people 300 yards away realise that they're about to be hit by a golf ball. Somebody gets hit, and then, you know, sometimes it's a serious injury, sometimes it's not. The player goes over, says sorry, maybe signs a glove, and then they carry on with their round. The other week at Wentworth in the BMW PGA, Rory hit 3 people in 1 round. One of those shots, to be fair to him, he was in the trees trying to hit it out, it then deflected off a branch and just hit somebody in the crowd there, so there was no real chance to shout for. But the other 2 weren't like that. They were shots that were basically hit offline towards people and he didn't shout for. So I'm going to read you what Rory said afterwards. I got very fortunate, I'm not going to do his accent, and I got good bounces off spectators and I made the most of it. I hit a girl on the 6th hole. I don't think I quite broke her hand, but I gave her a good mark. And then I split someone's head open on 18. They saved me as well because those balls were going deep into the trees or out of bounds if they had not hit someone. I'm just thankful that my ball didn't go where they were heading and just hope that they are okay. Now, that really pisses me off. I'm not for a second saying that Rory's the only one that does that. Phil Mickelson's done it, Jason Day's done it. To be honest, it happens all the time with loads and loads of different golfers. But people can get seriously hurt or even feasibly killed just because you can't be bothered to shout for, or because you're hoping that you might get a lucky deflection that puts your ball back on the fairway instead of going deeper into the trees. I think that is an absolute joke, and there should be at least an immediate 1-shot penalty for anybody who hits a spectator without at least shouting for. Anyway, that is enough of me ranting for one day. Let me know what rule you would like added, changed or removed down below, and I will see you in the future.